on it. We're getting phone calls from the press every single day. Like everybody's working on an article about Candace Owens pivoting. Everyone from obviously House and Habit's Jessica Reed Krause, who we're going to talk about a little bit because she was interestingly enough with none other than Bibi Netanyahu yesterday at the White House. Also, of course, The Cut. That woman had the same kind of an article hit piece about me to NBC, all using the exact same language. And like I said, working on the same sort of story about me. But actually, I haven't changed any of my opinions. Obviously, if you guys are listening to the show, I have the same perspectives on BLM, the Me Too movement. I've broadened those opinions. Vaccines haven't changed. Same person. So I'm wondering, where exactly did the pivot occur? And I'm thinking about it. I'm open to the idea of it. And like I said, I did do Howie Mandel's show the other day, as well as Jillian Michaels. And I'll show you some of those fun clips. And I realized at least this. I've definitely changed. I think my positions have not moved, but I'm completely done. I mean, totally and completely done with the left versus right game in politics, because it is now just so abundantly obvious that there is something much more sinister that is happening. When we elect politicians, they are on a platform, they say this, they perform, they promise us this is going to be the mandate. I'm going to clean up DC. And then we send them to DC and something happens. Something magical happens. And suddenly that magical thing is that really nothing they said they were going to do happens. The world really is becoming a stage. Maybe it always was a stage. And like I said, it doesn't matter who you elect. So no, there's no pivot. Like, I wish it was Kamala Harris. No, okay. It does not matter who you elect. It seems to be the same thing that we see over and over again. Politicians selling out the people that voted for them. I think Dave Smith, you guys know I love The Problem with Dave Smith, this is his podcast, summed it up really well when he looked at just the last 30 days of politics and said this. Take a listen.
I couldn't imagine whoever else the director of national intelligence was going to be being better than Tulsi Gabbard. I couldn't imagine whoever the head of the FBI being better than Kash Patel, or whoever the health secretary being better than Bobby Kennedy. But at the same time, you know, you got Tulsi, cheering on leveling an apartment building, literally as they're saying to him, "Hey, we traced we traced missile guy back to."
Yeah, through the whole Signal Gate message. Yeah, I remember reading that. I was like, "Oh yeah," he walked into his girlfriend's building. It collapsed. I was like, "Damn." I'm like, okay, it's like, all right, not military secrets, but it is a bit wild how you're casually just talking about, ending the lives of a whole lot of people in that apartment building. That's all I'm going to say. It's like this, casually talking about it.
His apartment building where his girlfriend lives. So we leveled the building, and she's sending like thumbs up emojis and saying, "Job well done, team." Every time I hear from Kash Patel lately, it's never about the criminals in government anymore.
No.
This guy was on a goddamn media tour for 2 years. Everything he ever said.
Bro, talking about he going about declassify this, I'm going to declassify that. Oh, yeah, complete transparency. But this man been running around with Pam Bondi chasing the immigrants. So it's just like, yeah. Now, if you guys have like a checklist or a 1, 2, 3 are going down, let us know. But it does kind of sound like they averted from the mission.
Was that there's all these criminals in the FBI. We got to get these people who committed all these heinous crimes against our republic.
Yeah.
Not talking about that anymore today. Now he's talking about bringing down drug dealers and sex traffickers. It's like, okay, but that's not what you were saying before.
Yeah, it's like, bro, we got Pam Bondi, and if anything, Tom Homan can low-key help her out with that. So it's like, dog, stick to, cleaning up the FBI like you said you was.
And Bobby Kennedy is out fighting the real health crisis, which is anti-Semitism. So
yeah,
I'm just saying, looking around the room, looking around the administration at this point, I think we got the positives out of Donald Trump that we would get. But man, this all just points in such a bad direction. And it's disappointing. It's just really disappointing. I knew I would be disappointed, but it is on the level of a Greek tragedy that these guys had this mandate and this opportunity, and they're just it all up.
Yeah, you know what? Now that Dave Smith puts it that way, I feel like maybe it's not us that's pivoting, but it's them. Like there's just some magic pivot that happens when you get to DC. And to build on that, May I ask the question, who the heck is controlling RFK Jr.'s X account?
I'm telling you, because it's like, bro, they walk into the office, they get there, they sit down in a nice chair, and then what? The guys in the black suit came in and just be like, all right, now, all that sweet stuff you was talking during the election, I know it got you elected, but guess what? Here's what you can do with that, and here's what you can't do. And if you do what you can't do, hey, yo, yeah, here's this tape of you sleeping with some other lady. Oh, here's this tape with you and an underage minor. It's like, I mean, how you want to play it, big dog? It kind of seems like that's like what goes down. Like they get in the office, the guys in the black suit shows up, let them know what they can and can't do. They kind of push back a little bit, and that's when they start dropping the blackmail info.
Am I allowed to ask that question? Because I quite literally was so inspired by this man. So many people were, obviously, because he was a major piece of the puzzle in terms of bringing people to the center, which needed to happen. It needed to happen that all of us were brought towards the center so that we could recognize where the real evil exists, right? And it's not left versus right. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's whatever the hell is going on in DC versus the rest of us. And so RFK Jr. emerges as this candidate, and the moms, oh my gosh, did he seize us, right? Because I was so inspired by his vaccine work. I quite literally chose not to vaccinate my children. No regrets on that, by the way. We'll never discount him for that. I will never be petty and say that he did not do all of that work that he did before he went into DC. Magic land where everybody changes their opinions. So inspired was I by RFK Jr. that I actually picked up the baton and did an entire podcast series called A Shot in the Dark, right? Because I wanted to spread the news, spread the knowledge so that parents could step away from these delusions of fear, you know, the drug cartel that I speak about that exists in DC. And it was his organization, Children's Health Defense, that authored a book that was entitled The Measles Book, okay? The Measles Book, which set out to prove that healthcare had been traded in for profit. That's essentially what the thesis of this book was. And this is a direct quote from that book, ready? Because this is going to be amazing when you look at his tweet today or what he tweeted yesterday. He wrote, as a forward, why have the benefits of the measles vaccines been exaggerated and the risks understated? Because these vaccines are a cash cow for an industry that long ago left behind the legacy of true public health pioneers like Dr. Jonas Salk. Big Pharma has devolved into nothing more than a government-enabled cartel. CHD informs the reader that measles vaccines carries risks, but only for the vaccinee and his or her family. Allegedly. Big Pharma is free of virtually all legal liability for damages from the vaccine's harms. Measles outbreaks have been fabricated to create fear that in turn forces government officials to do something.
The statements that were read just now does not reflect the opinions of Set and Keep Media due to the YouTube guidelines of misinformation on medical information. Yes, we will follow the guidelines of the CDC and say that the vaccines are safe for you. Wink, wink.
Then inflict unnecessary and risky vaccines on millions of children for the sole purpose of fattening industry profits, end quote, written by RFK Jr. For clarity, that was published in 2021. So less than 5 years ago. Okay. Well, 24 hours ago, he did a magic 180 pivot. First, he's saying they create the emergency to get you scared, so that you roll up your sleeves. 24 hours ago, this is what's happening on Secretary Kennedy. He's different from RFK Jr. This is now Secretary Kennedy on X. Look at this. Check out the third paragraph here. He writes, in early March, I deployed a CDC team to bolster. I thought we were sending him, by the way, to like dismantle the CDC. Maybe I'm crazy, but let me keep reading.
That's what we were hoping for, because if he dismantled the CDC, then the CDC wouldn't have such a holdover language on social media and what you can and can't say. That the CDC kind of does restrict free speech on platforms like, well, here, especially on YouTube. You can't go against nothing the CDC says on YouTube, or you'll get hit with medical misinformation, like quick, like that, like overnight, baby. So yeah, I was hoping that he was going to do the same exact thing.
Early March, I deployed a CDC team to bolster local and state capacity for response across multiple Texas regions, supply pharmacies and Texas-run clinics with needed MMR vaccines and other medicines and medical supplies, work with local schools and healthcare facilities to support contact investigations and to reach out to communities, including faith leaders, to answer any questions or respond to locations seeking healthcare. Since that time, the growth rates for new cases and hospitalizations have flattened. The most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is the MMR vaccine. Ah, okay. That was Secretary Kennedy, not to be confused with RFK Jr., who we knew 5 years ago, who's authoring that book. I just want to clarify that for you guys. And you ask yourself, how is it possible? Okay. You wonder in your mind if Jessica Reed Krause, House and Habit, is going to be covering that pivot, or if they're just going to continue to gaslight those of us who put him into office with a specific mandate to do more of what he was already doing outside of office. This gets into the conversation, the timely conversation that Ian, Carol, and I were having about blackmail. I know you guys enjoyed that conversation. It is us telling you the truth, okay? The more you hang out in these circles, the more you learn which individuals there seems to be blackmail on. And RFK Jr. is one of them. They have sexual blackmail on RFK Jr. That was told to people in my circle. And Jessica Reed Krause knows that. Okay. This is not something that I would say unless I was certain of this, of what they were fearful of coming out about him, something that would be extremely embarrassing.
Yeah, and RFK, like I said, he's pretty transparent. They used to live a wild lifestyle. And as well, let's be real. I mean, the Kennedys, these guys have a problem with women, bro. And not in a bad, I mean, not in a bad way either. I'll tell you that. Like, they don't have a problem getting women. They don't abuse women. They just sleep around with women. Bruh. I mean, shit. I know, right? I know, Kennedys. Yeah. I mean, no wonder they got along with black people so well. I'm joking, of course, but yeah, you kind of see where they took advantage of people like that. And back in the day, there was 3 things that the CIA loved, or the Mossad loved, to blackmail. And that was an adulteress. So you probably shouldn't be cheating on your wife if you're in government. A pedophile. We need to put you under jail. And then the last one would be a gay man. And here's the thing, they lost one of them, because now it's okay to be gay. So really just a pedophile or an adulteress.
And the question that I have now, when you look at this scandal after scandal of people who we send to DC and we believe in, and instantly they do a 180, is how early do they?
And shout out to my man, Ham. Appreciate the support, brother. And he says, let's see here. He says, if the book isn't peer reviewed, then it's just an opinion. My work is reviewed by many stakeholders for issues and errors. Was this book IDK? Wait, which book? You talking about what, the one RFK Jr. wrote? Like that book?
They begin collecting.
And who would peer review that book when most of these guys work for big pharma? So why would they go against the guys who kind of pay them? That's the thing about peer review. We're trusting scientists or these professionals who are paid by the corporations that we're trying to go against. So you talk about a peer review, you're basically saying, oh yeah, you mean a corporate sponsored study? I'm just saying.
This blackmail. Who are the players and the countries that are involved? Because I'm getting a little tired of believing that there is actually a deep state. I actually think the state is quite surface. It's kind of right in our face, right? It's pretty obvious. Speaking of which, and you're going to find this to be totally crazy. Okay. I like to find and dig up old articles. Maybe you knew this. I'm going to guess you didn't, because I didn't. And it was one of those things where I was reading it and I was like, oh, the Candace doing this, the face. I'm always just so shocked when I come across these things and I realize how little we know about how our government actually works. And this is regarding the person who visited the White House yesterday, Bibi Netanyahu, the person I think who is running the White House, by the way. He met with influencers while he was there. Who are they influencing and what are they influencing? Who are they influencing, or what are they influencing on behalf of, rather? We know that Jessica Reed Krause was there, as mentioned, because she posted a photo, and we know Tim Pool was there.
Oh, wow.
We know Dave Rubin was there, who has just become an Israel shill in the most pathetic way. We know Guy Benson was there, Bethany Mandel, and David Harris Jr. Go back to that photo.
I mean, and like I said, that's why I can't really call myself an outright conservative, because, well, I'm not an Israel. I'm not a Zionist. Let's just simply put it. I'm not a Zionist. I don't think that we just should be supporting Israel like we do. I don't think we should let Israel do whatever they want in the Middle East. Like, honestly, I'm not like I'm against Israel altogether. It's like, sure, I'm like, great, Jewish people, love them. But this whole Israel state that y'all got going on in the Middle East has been nothing but a headache. And I don't know why we support it, because all of it's done is brought war to our front door. And like I said, you know, my conservative friends, that y'all would like to call them, or MAGA, will come at me for that. They'll low-key come in my neck for just saying that. But I'm like, dog, there's no way you're going to get me to support the killing of women and children ever. Don't care who's doing it. Like, I criticize when Obama did it. I'm going to criticize when Trump do it.
Photo, which was fun.
Yeah, like on both sides. I criticize Biden. I criticize Trump. I even criticize Obama and Bush. But it doesn't seem to happen to all presidents. So at a certain point, it's just like, well, I don't judge them too harshly on it, because I'm like, yo, president after president after president kind of gets into this Middle Eastern conflict through the support of Israel. So, hey.
But
oh, and shout out to S13. Appreciate the support, sis. And she says, first time here. Enjoy the content. Keep it up. Appreciate it. The support, sis. Appreciate it.
Funny, because people were sending me things going, didn't you used to work with David Harris Jr.? He's been attacking you nonstop over the last week. I didn't even look at it because I'm so used to how fake everyone is, just how fake and absolutely miserable. It doesn't matter. I don't even care. But I then love that someone was like, and here he is being featured on House and Habits wall, and he's with Bibi Netanyahu. And that kind of locks some things into place. Anyways, fascinating group, right? Fascinating group that assembled there, but not nearly as fascinating as the man himself, Bibi Netanyahu. Because like I said, what I'm about to show you is crazy. Look what I came across. Thank you to you guys who send tips at CandaceOwens.com, tips at CandaceOwens.com, as well as you guys that tag me and everything. This is nuts. So this article was published in October of 1996. It's amazing that to find any of this information, we basically have to go back to the 90s, because now the press is so controlled in America. It's ironic and hilarious that we think that we have a free press in America when we have gotten infinitely less free to talk about.
I mean, yeah, because here's the thing. Like this how when I started to know that, yeah, we don't got a free press, because there's things that happen that just don't get covered. At all. Like, bro, Palestine, right? The whole situation with the Gaza and Palestine. I mean, Gaza and Israel. Do you know that Israel was attacking Gaza way before October 7th, continuously agitating them over and over and over again? Like hundreds of thousands of Palestinians dying way before October 7th, way before that. But that was not covered not one time in any media, but ironically, in Israel. Yes, in Israel, they would come out and talk about this. So that's why I never say, oh, all Jews are bad, because let's be real. The only reason why we're finding out some of this information that's going on in Israel is because of Jews, is because there's Jewish people out there who don't agree with it. So I could never just sit there and say, oh, it's the whole race. No, but I will say it's the elites.
About subjects without the entire media colluding to come down on you. So this was published, by the way, in the Washington Report on Middle Eastern Affairs, and it was a special report entitled Spook, Terrorist, or Criminal: America's Mysterious Files on Netanyahu. I said, okay, let me read this. This is weird. So I'm going to read you the relevant portion that blew my mind here. It says Netanyahu has lived both in Israel and the United States. First grade in Israel, second and third grade in the United States, 4th through 8th in Jerusalem, high school in suburban Philadelphia, military service in Israel, a BA and an MA at MIT.
I mean, this man was going everywhere for schooling. That's a bit strange.
Held dual citizenship, which enabled him to travel freely between both countries, study in the U.S., receive federal loans to cover his education costs, at MIT and work legally. Like every U.S. citizen, Netanyahu has a social security number, a credit account, and numerous other files in a variety of government offices. Okay. Nevertheless,
that's not too
Netanyahu's
strange.
files differ from those of most U.S. citizens. The Israeli weekly publication entitled Hayir, that is a publication that is weekly out of Tel Aviv, that reports that 4 requests for credit approval appear in the U.S. Social Security file number, and they gave the number of his Social Security. Under each request, one finds a different name: Benjamin Netanyahu, Benjamin Nitai, John J. Sullivan, and John J. Sullivan Jr. One man, 4 names.
Huh.
Benjamin Netanyahu is the name Israel's current prime minister was given at birth. And
here's the thing, like, look, Jewish spies. It does seem that every Jewish spy and has a way of changing their name. It's a bit weird. And I mean, this kind of something that he did throughout history to kind of escape, the Nazis or persecutions of other countries. So it is funny that these tactics are even being used today, seeing that, well, the climate isn't even that hot. So it's like, yo, what you need to be changing your name so much times for? And why are you changing your name so much times? Because you got 4 different names in 4 different countries. I can only imagine what you can get away with. I can only imagine.
in which he now uses. In June of 1973, during his studies at MIT, Netanyahu submitted a petition to the Boston court asking to change.
But how bad? I mean, come on, how cool would that have been, though? Like, you go to France, you got another name. You go to the United States, you got your own name. You go to Brazil, you got a new name. It's like, that's kind of cool, but that's also a bit strange. It screams a CIA spy, but that's just me. That's just me.
Change his name from Netanyahu to Nitai, Nitai. Quote, I prefer a shorter name, he wrote on the request form. The petition was approved. Thus, the second name has an explanation. The last 2 names, however, remain a mystery. Furthermore, the address attached to these names, somewhere in Malibu, California, does not exist. Who then is John J. Sullivan? Israelis Biranit Gorin and Einat Berkovich from Hayir tried to find out. They looked into Netanyahu's credit account. The file is supposed to hold information regarding bank accounts, loans, credit cards, and so forth. Yet surprisingly, the file was empty. It is as if Netanyahu never had a debt, had never taken out a loan, and always paid his bills upfront and in cash. Gorin and Berkovich then attempted to examine Netanyahu's Social Security file, but they were denied access. They did, however, find out that Netanyahu's file has a different classification than most. They were denied access not merely due to the 1974 Privacy Act, but because the file had a quote-unquote confidential classification. Gorin and Berkovich have explained that such a classification only applies to 5 categories of people: those who work for one of 3 federal agencies.
Oh, yeah, no problem, dog. Let me see here. Here it is. So special report. So you might want to just put this in: spook, terrorist, or criminal. America's mystery files on Benjamin Netanyahu, or Netanyahu. Sorry, just Netanyahu. Just look up that. You should be able to Google it, and it should come straight up. Not really sure if I can really see the small print down there, but there you go. Though. Had to help you out on that one.
See, the CIA or the FBI. Oh, amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know any of that. I'm checking the chat here to see if you guys knew that, were aware. Anybody here come across John J. Sullivan as he was studying through the United States and working on the payroll of our state?
Yeah, John J. Sullivan, who later on became Benjamin Netanyahu, who later on became Prime Minister of Israel. I mean, that isn't the first time Israel had a prime minister with a wild ass background. I remember the first prime minister of Israel had a wild ass background. I mean, that man was a straight up terrorist. And that was the first prime minister of Israel. I mean, there's no shade on Israel, but it's a bit wild. That is a bit crazy for that to be your first. I mean, our first president was a slave owner. So, hey, but a terrorist? Come on, guys. That's a bit crazy.
Anybody aware of that, as we keep pretending like there's a difference between the Mossad and the CIA, as if we didn't all intrinsically know that with everything that has been uncovered, with everything that we're learning about the 1960s, with all of the cross-contamination, with the way in which journalists completely worship and lie on his behalf. Like, we're just not allowed to criticize this entire state, with the way that all of the presidents behave and bend to his will. But this is quite shocking. Just being given a different name as you are moving through the United States school system. Why John J. Sullivan? Maybe somebody knew that in Yahoo. Listening to that and coming to that understanding and recognizing that no mainstream media person would ever report this, does anyone actually believe that any administration that we vote for is going to defeat the deep state? Like I said, the state isn't even that deep. It's on the surface. And
I mean, at this point, we need complete outsiders. We need complete outsiders. Like, this people that, well, they're not already tracking or they don't already have information on. Let's be real. These guys, Trump's cabinet has been in office for a while now, or not in office, but in politics for, I mean, probably more than a decade now, especially Kennedy, Tulsi, and not sure about Patel, but hey, you guys know what I'm talking about. So for these guys to have information or get any type of blackmail on them, I mean, they got plenty of time. There's plenty of years. Who knows what they got on Tulsi? Who knows what they got on Cash Patel? We kind of know what they got on RFK Jr. I mean, due to his past, it's kind of easy to tell what they got on them. Cash Patel, I mean, who knows? The man is married. He kind of backtracked on everything, so he might be an adulteress. Shoot, I would say Tulsi Gabbard. Who knows? Who knows? I'm a little bit afraid to make that prediction. I'm a little afraid to make that prediction. I would hate for it to be adulteress, and then I would hate for it to be, well, I mean, her being gay. Well, no, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. Pedo?
It's laughing at all of us.
No, not in a million years.
Also, I'm beginning to realize that these multiple identities is something of a pattern, that people and families who work for the government are given entirely different names and ideas and identifications, pardon, so that they can move freely between different countries and literally create entirely different identities in terms of who they are. Like, you know, Bibi Netanyahu was just like owned a furniture store. And now he's like a politician when he was in Israel. This is perhaps why, when we look back to Harley Pasternak, giving you guys a reminder in case you didn't see that episode where I explained why Kanye West engaged in an amazing act of bravery when he showed and potentially exposed the MK Ultra still in effect today amongst Hollywood stars to keep them in check and make sure they have the right ideas.
Remember, guys, the topic is like, look, like I said, Tulsi Gabbard, she went in on certain things and now it's kind of being ignored for conflict in the Middle East. I mean, we got Cash Patel went in on, he's supposed to be kicking down the doors of the FBI, but he's out there with Pam Bondi trying to get, you know, immigrants, which could be done with Tom Homan and Pam Bondi. So I don't know what the hell Cash Patel really doing out there. And RFK Jr., I mean, he was supposed to be hardlining on the vaccines and the CDC, but he's not working with the CDC and running with vaccines. So it kind of makes me think, all right, so they walked into this office. They came in with the initiative, but apparently, like I said, the men in black suits told them what you can do. And if you go outside that, this is the information we got on you. Like I said, the only thing I can think about Cash Patel is maybe the bro be sleeping with different women. That's the only thing I can really get on him. RFK Jr., I mean, shit, the drugs that man was doing, who knows? I mean, it could go anything from catching him with a minor to adultery to whatever. Like, you just never know. And with Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, the only thing I can see is honestly maybe she's gay or something. Like, if we're talking about what their blackmail could be, it'd probably be that. Oh,
this is why it's
shout out Uncle Ben. He says, keep up the good work, guys, man. Appreciate the support, Uncle Ben.
It's difficult to trace anything concrete regarding Harley Pasternak's potential familial connections to that original MK Ultra program, even though we were able to find out that he did work for the Canadian government. He worked for a program that allowed him to experiment on people's minds. This guy's just a gym trainer threatening to take Kanye back to La La Land to drug him. Play dates with your kids just won't be the same. Does your trainer talk to you like that? I'm just asking questions because you might need to go to a new gym if he does. Okay. Remember, we were.
I don't know. Maybe some of these gym trainers do need to talk like that. Like, man, I'll come in your crib, pull you out your crib. You keep talking crazy, man. I'll make you do push-ups so your arm hurt, man. Picking up your daughter won't be the same. Like, god damn, hold on, bro. Now, in Kanye's situation, if somebody ever hit me up like that, like, hey, you keep talking like that, I'm gonna put you on drugs, I'd have to give that man the location, like, all right, pull up, because you're gonna have to force him down my throat.
Or with Harley Pasternak working to try to establish whether or not he was related to Walter Pasternak. Walter Pasternak was the CIA agent, again, we found an old article, who conducted horrific experiments as a part of the original MK Ultra program. And he was called to testify. Washington Post ran an article about how he was called to testify in Congress about those horrific experiments. And he just no-showed. Like, that's pretty ballsy. Yeah, Congress is calling you to testify and you just no-show.
I mean,
And the reason likely is because he didn't want to be photographed, because Walter Pasternak was likely not his only name. Because when we went and we conducted some preliminary research, we could not find any pictures of Walter Pasternak. Miraculously, he worked for our government. He worked for the CIA. He was called to testify, and we could not locate a single picture of that man. What does that mean? Means he probably also had a super basic name like John Sullivan. I don't know. The only person that we could locate, by the way, with the last name Pasternak, that we could establish some kind of tie to the CIA with, was a Soviet artist, okay, and a writer named Boris Pasternak. Here's Boris. Can you pull him up, Skylar? Let's pull a picture of Boris Pasternak here. And his connection, this guy, he looks friendly, was quite odd, actually. He wrote a book that the CIA decided to turn into a movie. You may have heard of it. It's called Dr. Zhivago. And it's a book that the CIA decided to use as Cold War propaganda. That, according to the History Channel, I'm on the History Channel website, and it says, as reported in the Washington Post, what happened next is the subject of 130 CIA documents that were declassified at the request of Peter Finn and Petra Couvé, authors of the soon-to-be published book, The Zhivago Affair. In January of 1958, British intelligence officials sent 2 rolls of film with photographs of the book's pages to the CIA. According to subsequent internal memos, the agency's Soviet Russia division then began a mission to publish Dr. Zhivago in Russian and to get it over the Iron Curtain and into the hands of Soviet citizens. So it was published and became a big book as an effort of propaganda. And speaking of that, the more you learn about Hollywood and how our Pentagon has an entire office dedicated to Hollywood films, the more you should just dismiss that anytime you watched a Hollywood film, it's what actually happened in history. Like, just don't.
Here's the thing, though. I remember when they first told me about the Pentagon's movie department. It was actually pretty funny to me, because I'm just thinking, like, you know what? I mean, why not? Why not? The Pentagon, the guys at the Pentagon probably got some crazy ass stories they could say and be like, look, I can't say this on the record, but bro, this would make a kick-ass movie. I mean, I'd be down with it, no offense. I would be like, bro, I'm pretty sure they got some great stories at the Pentagon that make some great movies. I am all for the movie department at the Pentagon. I'm just saying. Hey, we got some great movies from them, did we not? Did we not get some great movies from the Pentagon?
Even we are so programmed, it's insane. And you really do just have to understand that they're running Hollywood, okay? They're running these movies. Everything that you see is just not real, okay? You are meant to process emotions, to feel a certain way, to support certain things. And many of us grew up thinking that it was something else, and it's not. It's like the largest propaganda machine ever for fighting the media. And it's not just the media that covers politics. It's the media that is produced when we come across a blockbuster film that compels us one way or